This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 388 of the More Than Just Code podcast. My name is Tim Mitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined by Roxana and Nagy in Dubai. And I'm also joined by Cristian Díaz in Berlin, Germany, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So Dubai what's this country?
It's United Arab Emirates.
Emirates. Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. Right. Neat. All right. Yeah, I never know that part of the world. But we all know Dubai. Dubai's like New York. We say, somebody says Dubai, you immediately know more or less where it is, even though you may not know geographically where it is. Anyway, yeah, so thanks for coming on the show. Cristian and I met last year at Let's Vision OS, which was the first Vision Pro related conference in, where were we? Berlin, Beijing. And
Beijing.
And then you guys both went to and distributed or displayed your app in a booth at the current Let's Vision conference, which was 2025, which is a bit wider scope than just Vision OS was for us. I think we had 700 people in attendance in 2024. And how many people were in attendance this time for you guys?
I believe they mentioned over 1,000.
Way more.
Yeah, I think it was closer to 2,000. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's one of the biggest conference right now, and to me it felt more like a fair right now. It's like an expo, right? It's like so many exhibitors, right? It's like it was almost like in pair with the speakers, right? So yeah, really, really impressive, I have to say.
I know, Cristian, you said you were on the booth most of the time. You didn't get a chance to actually go and see any of the talks per se, right? But did you get a sense of what other exhibitors were showing?
Exhibitors or your speakers, you mean?
Yeah, exhibitors. Well, you said you didn't go to the talks, right? So
yeah, we were both working in the booth, right? So we have different tickets if you want to go in that detail. So we had different access to different parts of the conference. That was also related to how well organized it was, right? And we were in this specific island which was dedicated to games, specifically games. It was the people from it was Black Box there, right? It was who else was Roxana?
Thrasher as well.
Yeah, of course, right? So yeah, Thrasher was just besides Black Box, right? So we felt like a really honor. If you don't know Thrasher, the kind of like a game of the year, and Black Box is huge for already a decade, right? So we were like really humbled to be there, and also our location was really well positioned. We were just in the exit of the main hall of the conference, so it's like every time you enter or you go out, you will see our booth. And there was also some people doing some WebXR things for again, there was like a focus, I would say, on XR. I don't know if you agree, Roxana. There were like most of the games, even in students, there were some students from university showing their projects, right, taking care of the booth. Same, right? Apple Vision Pro, some Unity, really well designed games, right, and like showing. So I don't think we saw any game in that island specific that was not related to Vision Pro and XR. So it was, again, it's like impressive that there's people making products, right? That we are there, the assistance, the interest too, right? And we were not even the biggest island, I would say, right, Roxana?
There was also some really, really, really big booths out there, big production as well. Mixed World. Story, they had those special build booths, which was very interesting, and people were always queuing up to those as well. So that was pretty interesting.
How was the interest in? So you guys were there exhibiting the Green Spurt, right? Which is your upcoming Vision OS game. And how did the response from that go? Did you have a lot of people trying it out?
Yeah. There was we had quite a lot of people coming in, and I think we have a couple of people who came back. So I think that was like, okay, that's really, really cool. And we already had a bit of experience running demos and a conference setup. So we already had like a setup and like flow in place, so we knew what we had to do. And I think it was pretty much like every time we had somebody trying the game, little wow moments when people were trying it, and everybody saw like really fun experience coming up.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And you were able to watch what they were doing like on a remote screen or something?
Yes, we always connect to our Apple TV, and in some cases, if that's needed, on our MacBooks, so we can guide them what to do. We've seen that's the best way, especially if you have somebody who hasn't tried a device before. It's really, really good to be there and kind of like take them through that.
Yeah, were you running the beta at the time? I'm just curious about the guest user experience.
Yeah, we were just not in time, right? I was like just installing the beta the night before, but it was only beta 1, and until beta 2, it was not there available, right? And yeah, there was like a huge friction point on that, right? We demoed the project to some people from Apple, right? And we were kind of like tense, right? We really want to make it like perfect. And we could not even go through the onboarding, right? Because we were using the facial mask for hygiene. And sometimes that covers the eye tracking. And that was like a bit tense, right? It's like, oh, this onboarding and stuff has to become better at some point, right? We really need something. And yeah, I have to say that, yeah, I would love to have this 2.4, right?
Yeah, 2.4, which just
right?
shipped on a few days ago on March 31st.
Yeah, it's really great, and yeah, it definitely is gonna change also the friction, right? Many people was like, everything you have to do for the onboarding is already tiresome, even if it's entertaining, right? And the onboarding it looks like a game. By the time you are in the game, and also in this demo setup, right? It's like you are in a hurry, right? And you want to be just a couple of minutes. And what we are doing at the end of the day is a frustrating experience, right? We are doing an escape room, right? So you are supposed to find out, right? And have a situation. And yeah, that's kind of difficult to transmit on demo setup. But I would say in general, like people was really invested, really interested. The booth itself worked, the image, it was like, what is this? And kind of like we have a crowd we didn't expect it to bring some attention, right? And yeah, I'm pretty happy personally.
Yeah, I do want to get into Green Spurt, but before we do that, I'm kind of curious about the two of you. Like, I think looking at your LinkedIn page, you guys worked in the same company, Monstar Lab, I think it's called, not Monster Lab. And I'm curious about why the letter A is in the middle of the word, but maybe you can tell me a bit about how you met. I know we'll get into your origin story too, about how you got into this, how we got to where we are today in terms of iOS and everything. So
Roxana is the senior there, right? So it's the correct thing you go for this.
Yeah, of course. We worked before, and even after we stopped working there, it was immediately we knew we wanted to continue to do something together. We worked well before. We were kind of united in this real passion for spatial computing. I started working on that company as an intern like 7-8 years ago, and I reached to a point where I was leading augmented reality and a bit of virtual reality and metaverse as well, because they sometimes coming back. And Cristian was an iOS developer, and then turned into Vision OS developer. So of course our paths crossed, and we started to work together on projects. And quite before we left that company, we ended up making a good case for Cristian to come to be only Vision OS developer, so we can only focus on spatial computing. And yeah, we worked on a few projects together. We took a trip to Saudi 1 year before. That's where we first met in person as well. All the collaboration we were doing, it was online because we were in separate locations.
Right, I was going to ask that, yeah.
Yeah. It's. I think Roxana is humble as usual. She was the lead, right, of everything related to cross reality, right, and that touched many points of development, and it was like a really interesting. I was lucky. I was in the Berlin office at the time. So Monster Lab as an entity, it was a big company. It started in Japan, and I don't know how many thousands of employees we have, but it was like a big operation without like a clear identity, which is part of the problem, right? It was part consultancy, part offering services. So we have this friction between like the technical people that really want to have like a shop and construct things and have products, and people that only wanted to make a strategy, right? No judgment there. So I was in the Berlin office, which is a small one, but it was pretty technical, right? We were like oriented on creating products, and it's just because lucky, we had some clients that were really interested in making AR projects at the time, way before VisionOS. I was not expert at all on AR, and I was forced to kind of study Reality Kit and do things with Reality Kit, which was really painful, right? As you probably know, especially with the Reality Kit one. But we were lucky because when VisionOS came, and because it's based on Reality Kit, we were like really well prepared. We already had experience with Roxana. We had projects to present, to go to the labs, right? So everything kind of fell in place and everything was going well. And then the company went away, and we are like, we're in this great moment. Yeah. Everything fits. What do we do, right? And we push.
Yeah. So you mentioned the developer labs. You're talking about the Apple ones. Did you go in? Yeah, exactly. Was Munich. That in Berlin? Munich?
So I went to Munich, and also I went to London. I went to the Battersea. I was I'm in love with the device, right? So for me it was like I need any flight hour I can get now with this device. So yeah, every time I could, I sent out. So Munich is pretty big on the south of Germany. So
and you got one. You went to the States to buy one when it first came out too, right? Yeah,
exactly. Same with me. Miami.
Yeah, for me, like the similar story. I was going with a bit of skepticism. I really didn't understand what Vision Pro was or why anybody would care, especially at my age, right? But yeah, when the moment I put it on, I was like just blown away by the typical Apple quality and finesse and stuff like that. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Roxana, or. Did you try? So how was it? What was your experience like with Vision Pro? When did you first find out about it and try it out and things like that?
Mm-hmm. So my whole journey up to Vision Pro started in 2017 with ARKit, and I was an iOS developer, and we had this. It was very like a casual code night at work, and we wanted to try ARKit. It was just announced. There was also AR Core out there, and I played a little bit with it. I made this very basic tic-tac-toe. It was just image tracking at that time, like crazy to think back of what kind of features we were like wowed about at that point. But it really triggered something in me, and I went to learn more about it. It also happened to me, fate happened that I got a project to work with ARKit, so I even got to practice it, and that's what the moment where the whole spatial computing, and at that point, right, we were talking about augmented reality. It's like this is the future. I absolutely love it. I love technology, but I do not like how we are like wrapping ourselves to a screen, to a device. It feels a natural way in the future to experience technology, and that's what I felt in that moment, and that's what continued for many years. I followed it, I played around with it, and even from 2017, I knew that Vision Pro, it's coming in some sort of shape. I was already quite into Apple products, so I was in the ecosystem. I was a developer, I was having iOS, I was having an iPhone, a MacBook. So I said, okay, for sure when something is coming out of Apple, I will love it. And it was exactly that, and Vision Pro was announced, and it's everything we were hoping for.
Yeah, I think it was cool. It was like I've been doing augmented reality for almost seems like forever, but at least since the iPhone came out. But I'm curious, like, so what kind of products did you make with ARKit? I guess you're talking about using an iPad or an iPhone screen, like a view screen, and then looking at targets, or what kind of ARKit work were you doing?
So the first project that I got, which was for a client, it was an auto lift company in it was Germany and Denmark. And the project for that was to essentially see those autolifts. So you would have those mechanical shops, and then you would have the owners who would want to try out how those would look in their shop, how they would fit. They didn't have physical, I think they only have like one physical store where you can go and see the equipment, but people didn't really want to travel all that way. And also, if you travel, you still cannot see how that looks in your space. So that was the use case that they wanted to try out. And it was pretty interesting, I would say. It was, again, looking back, it was very basic of what we can do today, but it was really a useful project that they had.
So they could sort of like look at their space and then see how big the equipment was going to be in their space.
Yeah, and place multiple ones and then see like the details of it and the parts of it. And there were some plans to take it further to be able to order different parts as well, identify which is a part and order if it's broken and things like that. So that was one of the first that I worked on.
Yeah, I saw a cool demo recently of you go to an empty lot, like with no building, and you put your Vision Pro on and they show you a building and you can walk into the kitchen and you can look at the bedrooms while you're in this empty lot, in somewhere in a field, basically, right? You can't go upstairs because the stairs don't really exist, but
yeah, that's a great use case as well, and it reminded me of a very funny story. When I was testing that exact project, I was the office that we were in, it was too small, so I had to go out to test it in some instances and make sure it works. So I was doing that in the parking lot, and at some point, and because I was using my iPhone, at some point I was just like, it looked like I'm taking pictures of cars. And this guy comes running and it's like, no, I'm leaving, in Danish. He thought I'm taking pictures to report him that he parked illegally or something. And it's just like all these like moments when you test out your AR experiences and you look funny, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like back when I grew up, if somebody was walking down the street talking to themselves, you would call a doctor. Now they're using their earbuds or whatever, right? So yeah, cool. All right. Well, but we want to talk about the Green Spurt. So why don't you guys explain what the project is? And it's a Vision Pro app, I think we mentioned before. And also, I think from what's interesting for people who are interested in Vision Pro and development is you're using TableTopKit, which I don't know anybody who's using that. So maybe you guys can give us some ideas.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start a little bit about the idea of the game, please. And then maybe you can go into a little bit more about TableTopKit and how we came to that. So when we got together and we wanted to figure out what we want to do, we said, okay, we're makers first. We want to have a playground. We want to go and really, really push the platform, learn the ins and outs, play with all the features there. Maybe some of them that are not that common to play with. And there was this idea of escape rooms and the potential of it, and it's such a good use case for us because you can use any feature of the platform as a mechanic. So you can turn anything into a puzzle if you want. So I think it was pretty straightforward once we talked about idea that it's a really good project for us to take on. And I think early days of the projects, we went and did this repository, we call it the mechanics repository of, I think we had over 50 ideas of how we can make puzzles in the Apple Vision Pro. So it's like, this is really exciting. We want to do it. It's creative. It involves art. It involves technology and pushing the limits. And then maybe I'll pass it on to Cristian also to say like why we picked TableTopKit.
I love how is the phrase like we did it not because it's easy, it's because we thought it was gonna be easier, right? So
how hard can it be is the expression.
I mean it's like So yeah, I think like what Roxana says, the context, right? We were iOS developers. We were used to B2B and show products that have some utility, right? We don't come from the game industry or game engines necessarily. We have some contact. We know a bit about it, but it's not the mentality. Also, it's not our training, right? But that's something that we had to learn with the time, right? Like many things that we were like overlooking. How hard can it be, right? And it's really hard. So the thing is like at the end, for us, we have to search for what is the main differential of the Apple Vision Pro with anything else, right, out there, right? Or Vision OS, if you want, right? What is different about this system and your interaction on this device that is not on MetaQuest already or on something else, right? And for us, it's like we discussed it a lot. This, right? We discussed it. By the way, we have a natural progression on how we work remotely, right? And we ended up working on FaceTime with personas, and we work with that, right? And that kind of created also the environment that, okay, for us, what is really the killer use case is all about multi-user and all about the spatial computing, right? Like being able to integrate your surroundings and have like a way of, I don't know, like if you have data, a way to display the data, like interact in a more complex and more app way if you want, right? So that's why it was like we don't want to really make a game. What we really want is to explore the spatial computing part of it by doing an idea. We didn't have an idea at that time. And when it was in 2024 was announced, the TableTopKit, right? So when it was announced, it's only one video. Documentation is lacking. We can talk about that later. But when you see the documentation and you see the project, it's really it really resonated on us in the way that first, it has like a higher level of abstraction on how you interact with elements, right? So it's not only about gestures, about pinching and rotating. It's about grabbing and compounding elements and being able to snap to a certain place and creating rules that are owned by a seat, for example, right? So it's like a moral logic, like I don't know, if you think on Gigaspace, right? If you want to do Gigaspace, it's not enough with gestures, right? You need to have like a proper logic of how the piece is being kind of taken off and taken back, right? And how you can use both hands. And if you have collaborative sessions, right, how you will solve that, right? And TableTopKit came with all of that, plus really interesting architecture, right? If you go and check the framework itself, it's completely state-driven, right? Everything is an extract, and everything is passed as an action and evaluated in a reducer, right? The style of code, right? So it felt like a really good, right? This is unidirectional, and it's something like it's really hard to make also on, again, I started with Reality Kit 1 and Roxana 2 even before, and that means like we didn't even have Reality Kit on Swift UI, right? So connecting all the machinery with something that is more deterministic, it was almost impossible, right? This is like everything was running on their own, and you do what you can, right? So yeah, Swift UI and Reality View is great, but it's still there if you want to use something like DCA or unidirectional architecture and control all the faces and states and multiple parts of it. It becomes really, really hard. So for us, TableTopKit brings like a dream, right? Okay, now we can plug this and we can take all this ECS way of doing stuff and mix it with more like a unidirectional and more deterministic way of doing it, and that accelerates, right? And that's only for one user, right? When you talk about multi-user, right, I think it would be impossible to do it. And as we say, like continuously, right? If we didn't have TableTopKit, probably we would have the need of developing something like TableTopKit, right? So yeah, I totally recommend the people imitating the architecture because it's really interesting what is going on there.
So you were saying that it potentially could be used by multiple users, but you're targeting one? Because I think some of the demos we've done, you and I together with other people, we've all joined the same session, right? So
yeah, it's a multiplayer game. That's another benefit of doing it on native, right? Because you have not only you have a real group activity, and you have access to the personas. So people plays with their own personas in the game, right? Which feels like a really a different experience, right? It's a game that becomes something you can play with your friends and kind of like a chill out right there. And for us, again, we were not really expert on group activities, right? Group activities are it's always like, oh, it's scary, but we knew that shared activities and things that you can do with people, like the telepresence, right? The co-presence, right? It was something like we really wanted to explore, and it was kind of requirement from day one, right? You want to go with your team and solve this mystery with them. If you don't have friends, you need friends, but you can also play alone, right?
Cool. So I've tried the beta out, and I'm curious. Two things. One is are you still using public beta? Can people try it out if they want? And then tell me where you are in the process. When do you think you're going to have a 1.0 ready for people to actually try out on the store?
Yeah, so the public beta is on our website as well, so everybody can go and try it. We started testing this very, very early with our friends and family and people around us, and even if it was early stages, it already gave us so much information and so much insights into what it is to develop an experience like this. And we have the public beta right now, and we are planning to release by end of this month. So what you see right now in the public beta is the one of the 3 challenges that we will have there. Right now we're close to finishing another one, which actually will come before what you see right now in the public beta. And it's more of we're making adjustments, we're learning from this experience. We've seen some of the immersive storytelling sessions from Apple, where it kind of triggered again to us to think of maybe a smoother experience, something before grounding the players into their role, and that's what it's coming. We're finishing that right now, and then it will be the one that you see, and another one which will be hopefully a grand finale in a sense. Not to set up the expectations very high, but that's where we are right now.
Yeah, so you can actually escape the game, right?
You can close it.
You can never turn it on. Never get out of the game.
I want to give a shout when you say like the learning experience, and I want to really thank like Ryan from Black Box, right? And he was really instrumental in his feedback when he was there in Shanghai, and he tried the game, right, with you, Roxana, and it was like, yeah, don't give me any clues, right? I'm gonna solve it. And the feedback was so good that pretty much we spent the next 3 weeks following this advice. Also, the Thrasher, the Thrasher people was really supportive, right? And you feel the generosity again, right? It's this thing about the community that sometimes between Roxana and me, we work together, right? But we are kind of isolated at the same time, and we are in our own echo chamber, right? And feeling that this resonates and can be improved, and having some external feedback was really refreshing, challenging, but refreshing. So shout to these people. We love them.
That's good, Ryan McLeod, and Black Box is the official game of More Than Just Code podcast, by the way, because we were talking to him when it first came out. I was playing. All 3 of us were playing it at one point on our iPhones, and I mean, I even drove to the top of a mountain to beat one of the goals, right? So, but. Yeah, so, and Ryan, there's an episode of Ryan. He was one of the first developers I interviewed about the process. So yeah, he's quite interesting. And I was surprised to see surprised but not surprised to see him tackle Vision Pro, because he's into sort of hacking hardware, right? In that sense, right? It's cool. Yeah, so there's obviously Apple's just announced WWDC early this year, but so what are you looking forward to in Vision OS 3? Are you thinking, are we going to get any? Is there going to be something better for you in particular that you're looking for in terms of your game, or what are you hoping for?
Yeah, so as technically, right, as developers, right, this is for us. There is friction, right? So. We have this kind of ambivalence between we don't like to be negative about the state of the platform, right? It's we do really believe that this is complex. It's really, really complex. And every time you try to construct something, right? It's like you understand, right, how hard it is to get to the point that is Vision OS now, right? So even with that, right, for us has been there is many things that are being difficult to test, for example, right? Mm-hmm. All the thing about the group activities is really hard to control and to test. You really need to be on call all the time, and that creates a situation where we're kind of iterating. It's really slow, right? Because what do? You have a test flight and you send a test flight, or you have the the certificates, and both parties compiled. So group activities has been challenging also because we were learning, but at the same time, VisionOS itself is a complex beast, right? It's like so many things going on, so many windows, so many types of windows with their own rules and their own bugs, right? And things are moving fast, right? So you have like a kind of like this version doesn't work like that. So we feel a lot of feedback, and we got a lot of answer, more than we can answer sometimes. So to me, like, we need a better way to test group activities, because I think it's a crucial part of VisionOS. And then the overall fixes, right? It's like, I do believe that the window management is something like it's impossible right now, like to do completely right, to have the control of all the faces and being able to transition from one type of window to another. And maybe the last one, right? Because we have been doing so much work on 3D modeling and shaders and things. When you see what other game engines are capable of, right? And you compare to some stuff, right? It's like we need a push, right, on RealityKit, I think, right? On lighting, on physics, right? We are great on sound, we are great on text, right? We are great PBR and textures and many, many things. But we definitely need better physics and probably lighting. I will ask for better lighting. But
it does be with a lot of the students that I talk to who are trying to learn VisionOS, lighting objects is a challenge. I know you have an article on your blog about that too. So Roxana, what are you looking forward to in the next version of VisionOS?
Yeah, I think also for me, it's that what is on top of my mind is stuff related to the project. And there was another thing that we were talking about, that right now you can start a shared experience only from FaceTime.
Okay,
We were thinking that could be interesting if it could work in another way. Because, for example, we often use our device to give the game for people to try it, and they cannot try the multiplayer experience because you cannot
because they can't log in, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And it's more like a testing again, perhaps, but it's a personal device. So at the end of the day, maybe that also makes sense. But I think that will be interesting to see if something could be with that.
That's a great one, right? It's like having the people in the same room with Vision Pros, right? Is a real use case, right? We have it in the booth, and you can have it in exhibitions. And one thing that maybe I want to add now that you mentioned, Roxana, is that also TableTopKit is really restricted to VisionOS right now, right? So even if you go for group activities and potentially you can make something with iPhone or iPad, right? There is no way to put that framework running on those devices, right? So that will be really interesting to have like a different modality of playing in the same game and having participation of other platforms, right? It will help the adoption too.
So, but personally, how often do you each individually use your Vision Pro outside of working on the project? And if just from a personal point of view, what are you looking for? Like for me, I am frustrated that I'm logged in with optical ID on my phone, on my Vision Pro, but I can't unlock my phone.
It happens to me all the time.
I can do this with my watch, but I can't do this with my Vision Pro, right? So anyway, what personally are you hoping for from WWC or VisionOS 3?
I would say I absolutely love the environment, and I can never get enough. So I would love more. There's one in there, Mount Hood, which is so similar to a place in nearby my hometown, which is very nostalgic. And when I saw it, it was like I got emotional. They're really good. So I would hope for more. And then in terms of, but that's not really, I don't think that's something that can really be solved. But I do have a big problem with the battery, because I don't have pockets. I'm a girl. I have it's very notoriously known that we are poor. The makers of our clothes that just don't put pockets. So I find myself in situations where I need to go and do something where I'm not at my desk, so I have to take the battery with me, and I put it in weird places. I put it under my armpit. Sometimes I need to change my clothes, but that's not something that I can't imagine. That's something that will come, it's more like a hardware, probably takes some more time, right, for the hardware to this, but it just, I thought about it those days, and I just thought it's so funny. Maybe
Yeah, I
a
wonder
pouch.
if Belkin has a thing with a strap you can wear over your shoulder or something, or a
They
fanny
have
pack
that?
or something. I don't know. I think they might. I know they do have like a belt clip.
The clip.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, you're right. The battery can be a pain in the butt. I mean, I have this dock that I use for my, and the battery it plugs in at the back here, so I never have to take it out of there. But I'm usually sitting with this on my lap. For the same reason, yeah. And I bought a second battery for when I bought my Vision Pro, just because I was, in a different country, like I wasn't in the U.S. And I've never taken it out of the box. I charge it up every now and then. But what are you looking for personally, Cristian, to make your life better?
Yeah, I mean, I miss a lot of apps, right, and functionality on the current apps, right? It's like all the time I see myself try to find where to edit a photo, right, on photos, right, and it's like I cannot crop, right, I cannot edit,
yeah,
I
you
cannot
can't
go
edit
to
the photos on photos, yeah,
right,
yeah.
poster frame or anything,
or change
right?
the location, or enter some metadata, yeah, like you can on your
phone. Give me something, right?
Yeah,
it's like I do want more muscle, right, on photos, and we know this is gonna come eventually, but also it's to me it's hard to control FaceTime, right? It's like creating links and adding people, right? You know that, right? It's almost a mystery. It's a black box. I'm gonna say. Maybe Ryan is paying us. I miss maps, right? And I miss calendars, right? It's like why I don't have that, right? It's like
contacts,
especially calendars, right? Or contacts, right?
That sync with my other devices, right?
So I think that will improve my day by day. I use the device. I'm a developer, right? So I use it as an external monitor, right? Mainly, right, to have all my stuff and compiling and modeling and everything becomes really, really good on the device. Luckily, I don't have much comfort issues with it, right? I understand some people have it, but I'm lucky with that. But I miss a lot of better, stronger, kind of default apps in the install.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, I mean, like just thinking about your game too. I mean, if there was a I know there's ways that you can have an iPhone or an iPad talk to each other, and I think we played a game once with Josh where it was the Crossy Road one where he could we were on our Vision Pro, but his kids could be on an iPad and play along too, right? So that would be nice to be able to have that sort of a FaceTime, like what do you call it? What do we call this? Spatial persona, a persona experience inside a game. But I'm sure Apple's thinking about, okay, well, that could go wild if people got a hold of that and made a third-party persona app.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Europe, right? So maybe they're gonna be forced somehow, right? I don't know, but technically, right? SharePlay works across devices, right? And group activities is a WebSocket kind of, right? At the end of the day, right? So you can send messages, right? I'm not so sure about doing something with Bonjour, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure that the way you can do it with a Mac and an iPhone, for example, which will be interesting, right? This is what Roxana mentioned, right? It's what about if we have a local network, right? And we can connect with it, right? Not only for presence, maybe for even working, sharing, and everything else, right? And again, I think it's such an obvious use case that it's probably a matter of time, right, and kind of priorities, right, that is coming, right? But it's definitely something we are going to see. I'm positive on that.
Yeah, I think that Apple restricting things like photo access and stuff like that, or camera access. I mean, I can't see that being a long-term thing. But then again, the Vision Pro hasn't really landed its place in the world. The watch is a health device, but it wasn't when it first came out, and there's other products that didn't exist before the phone, but we'll hopefully something will come out of that. So I have this other part of the show where I ask questions that reveal more about you individually, right? And it's based on the work of Marcel Proust. I don't know if you know the Marcel Proust questionnaire, but also mixed in with a little bit of an American TV host called Stephen Colbert, some silly questions from him, and then some silly questions that I've added too. So if you guys are seated comfortably, we can get into the questions, and you can either answer both or just whatever. We'll see what it is. But first thing I'll ask Roxana first. What's your motto? What's your mission statement?
I do have one for a very long time, I think high school, and it's opportunities multiply as they are seized. So this is from The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's a ancient Chinese military book. I read it a long time ago, but this quote stuck with me, and it's how I like to live my life. And it's kind of like my interpretation, at least, of it is that you can never know what opportunities will branch out for something. So I try to say yes, and I like to think back on my life and all these moments where I said yes and I couldn't have imagined what would come out of it, and like those life-changing moments. So that's mine.
Yeah, I used to work with Walmart, and they don't have problems, they have opportunities. How about you, Cristian? What's your motto?
Yeah, I don't have one really, right? What I do have is like I always kind of like I use this title of being a humanist, right? I studied arts in the past, and sometimes it's like people, why do you say you're a humanist, right? And this is because I do believe that the humanity is kind of like a big chunk of the problem, right? But also can be like a good part of the solution, right? So I'm really optimistic on how the people can fix things, right? But yeah, I think.
Cool. All right. So Roxana, who are your heroes in real life?
I always like to reference my parents first, and then thinking about the field that I'm in right now, I look up to two women in spatial computing, and that's Dr. Helen Papagiannis and Kathy Hackle. They're pretty much pioneers in the space, and I look up to them. I follow them on different platforms. I keep up to everything that is happening through them, and yeah, they're kind of like role models and heroes in that sense for me.
Cool. Cristian?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of artists and people in this cross-thinking, right? But I think this is the right time to say that my personal hero at this moment is Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki. So.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite word?
Word? Affordance.
Affordance?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an English word, by the way. Just.
Yeah, I don't even know the word in Spanish. So affordance.
Okay.
So probably it's like I do like this thing about like a hinting. What is this for? Right.
Right.
There's something there.
Yeah, we hear about that in I think they talk about that in accessibility and design, right? So.
Exactly.
Yeah. How about you, Roxana? What's your favorite word?
I think right now, and I'll go with a bit of a mom answer, and that's actually mommy, which is mommy, and when my son says it, it's the cutest thing, and it's my favorite word.
That's cool. All right. What's the best sandwich?
Yeah, I can go first with that one because I have my answer ready.
Okay,
I love this question.
Yeah.
So there's this deli in Dubai, Italian deli, and they make those sandwiches called the Rebecca. I don't know the reason for that, but it's a slow-cooked pulled barbecue brisket with pickles, cheddar cheese, and like a garlic sauce. It's the best thing in the world, and every chance I get it to have it, I do.
Cool. Yeah. Cristian.
Yeah, now I'm hungry. So yeah, I was raised in Spain, right? So my answer is like a pretty categorical, right? There is only one single truth, right? Which is like a sandwich of jamón serrano, which we call it bocata, in fact, right? We call it bocadillo, which is a diminutive, but at the end of the day, it's a big one. But it's this kind of like a jamón serrano, and maybe oil, maybe nothing, but good bread, and this jamón must be one of the best sandwiches for me.
Cool. All right. What's the scariest animal?
The cow. The cow. I was, I had this like a kind of like a close encounter when I was a kid with a kind of like a wild cow. So it was not even like a milking cow, and it was. So my image of a cow is more like a zombie cow.
Was it a cow or a bull?
It was a cow. It was like a really upset cow and really skinny and zombie-ish. So yeah.
Zombie cow. Okay. All right.
Yeah, zombie cow. I'm really afraid of that.
How about you, Roxana?
My answer is more like an insect, but nothing scares me more. No animal scares me more than a spider.
Spider?
I don't like
cool.
spiders.
Cool. What's the one thing you own that you should really throw out?
Well, T-shirts, right? I have a mountain of T-shirts that they don't even fit on me, right? And I kind of like grab to this hope, like at some point. But I don't know. It's I think I do like a simpler life, right, with less things, right? So pretty much everything is a candidate, except again, the Vision Pro probably is not something I would throw away. but probably I have a T-shirt issue right now.
We recently moved and we had to get rid of a lot of stuff, so I don't think right now I have anything that I would need to actually throw out. But I love collecting stuff, so it's difficult when I have to do that.
Yeah. Have you ever asked anybody for their autograph? Or to sign something?
Yes. To a singer, a famous Spanish singer that made a Spanish version of Jesus Christ Superstar in Madrid. He's called Camilo Sesto, and he was from Madrid. I was in Madrid at the time. And to me, it's like one of the kind of this type of artists at the time. So I asked for autograph, and it was weird, and I never did it again. So.
Well, if somebody writes a book, I'll get you to sign the book,
We do.
Roxana,
That's
what do you
interesting. I actually, I did that. So I was obsessed with Harry Potter when I was younger. And I went to see, a few years ago, I went to see the Cursed Child play in London at the theater. So it was amazing experience. And then I went to the back alley where the actors would come out after the play, and I sit there, and I mean, it was pretty much a known thing that they stay there and sign, but I did get to have, I think, most of the cast signed. I had this program book, and they signed that, and I love that book now, and it's very prized possession.
What's your favorite action movie?
Die Hard.
What?
Die Hard.
Die Hard, okay, yeah.
Yeah, probably the one and the third. Yeah, and the second one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm horrible with movies. I can't really say I have any kind of favorite movies. Even before, when I had more time to watch movies and TV, it was more like TV shows. So, favorite action movie.
What's your favorite Harry Potter movie?
The third one.
Which is Goblet of Fire? No.
A Prisoner of
Azkaban. Yeah, with Gary Oldman. I like that one too. Yeah,
Gary Oldman, right?
Yeah, he's a classic for sure. I like that one. What's the most used app on your phone?
Let me think about probably music.
You can go into screen time on your phone and look it up.
Yeah, really, right. Of
course, you can't do that on the Vision Pro because there's no way to look at the stats on Vision Pro yet. Yeah. That's one of my pet peeves.
Yeah, now I'm gonna get the screen time. What is screen time? Probably it's not gonna agree with me, right? It's gonna tell something embarrassing, right?
You can go by week or by day, I think, right?
So for me, week is YouTube. Yeah, I've been watching quite a lot of YouTube lately.
Yeah. Safari here, Blue Sky, and RSS Reader. I use called Reader from Readwise. So I thought it was more embarrassing. So. Also, I'm lucky. I uninstalled Instagram and things recently because of updates. So probably it's because of that.
So here's some rapid fire questions. Window or aisle?
Window.
I'm aisle.
Okay. Favorite smell? Or actually, no, let's skip that one. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Cats for me.
Okay. Sparkling or flat?
Sparkling.
Flat.
Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
Oranges.
Okay, cool. What is your favorite smell?
Lavender.
Lavender, okay.
Lavender.
Yeah. I love more like gourmand scent, so probably I would say like something like a vanilla, marshmallow, something like that.
Where would you most like to live?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy in Berlin.
Okay.
On my own private island. If we're thinking big.
Yeah, I guess I want to. I look at the people who own Porsches and Lamborghinis. I want the job that they have to afford that, right? So what is it about Berlin that you like, Cristian?
The lack of definition, right? You can do really whatever you want and nobody really cares, right? And kind of the city also kind of supports you in your mood, right? So if you are like a more like, I don't know, if you want to go party, of course, right? It's Berlin, right? But if you want to take a coffee, right, and chill out and go to the park, and now I have 2 kids, right? And the parks for kids are great too, right? And every single phase of my life that I've been visiting or living in Berlin, the city has kind of adapted to me, right? So yeah. Also, I like the story, right? And being able to walk to the bar where Bowie was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it's really meaningful for me. And there are so many great artists around still today, right? And digital artists and people that is non-conventional, right? They're doing like things like you cannot even imagine, right? So I like that from Berlin. It's really particular.
All right. So Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Babylon 5, or Harry Potter?
Only one?
Yeah. Well, you can pick 2, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going for a Star Trek, Doctor Who.
Star Trek and Doctor Who, okay.
Yeah, for me, it's good. It's going to be Harry Potter.
I added that for you. I usually don't ask that one.
Thank you very much.
That was a setup. Describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
Doing, right? Inconformism, right? It's really impossible to be satisfied, right? It's like adopting, making.
Doing, adopting, making. Okay.
I think for me, it's exciting and unknown times ahead.
Anyway, okay, well, I guess that's pretty much it for the show. Why don't you tell us how people can get in touch with you and maybe what you're working on after this, after the game comes out, and if people want to get into testing out your game, how they would go about doing that.
I'm we are on all social media platforms, but pretty much everywhere I'm called Rox or some variation of that. And we also have an account, Reality Check, which is actually Reality 2713, that we just use it to repost what we repost, but it's a good way to keep in touch with what we do with the Green Spurt, and we also have a website, so perhaps we can.
I'll put links in the show notes of all this stuff. Yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, maybe it's too soon, but what we decided to make with Roxana is called Reality Check, which comes from an open source project we did when we worked together for inspecting Reality Kit, right, understanding the hierarchy and everything. So for us, was Reality Check is really cool. So we use it as a company, and we have the intention to make a series of games, right? So the series is called Escape Space, and the first game is the Green Spurt, right? So it's the hierarchy. You can find me as El Cranio everywhere with K. I'm mostly active on Blue Sky, and also I kind of like a post in LinkedIn in the Vision OS developer group.
Right.
But I mean, almost any social. I'm slow to answer, but I do watch.
What does El Carano mean?
It's skull. It's called. So when I studied art, it was like all these presence of a skull, and suddenly it was like it's cool. Yeah, and then
like cranium.
Just stick with that. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like cranium. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to also quickly mention that we do write articles on our blogs, and we cover quite a few things that we discover and we learn about, and we share that in our blogs from the game and this whole process. So that's also a good place to keep an eye on.
Yeah, maybe I'll add your link to my newsletter. So cool. All right. Well, my name is Tim Mitra, TIMMITRA, and that's on Blue Sky, Mastodon. Those are probably the best 2 places to get a hold of me. You can find me on LinkedIn, but not under that title. So yeah, until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
This has been another episode of the More Than Just Code podcast. If you want to find out more about the show, you can visit the More Than Just Code website at morethanjustcode.com. There you can find a summary and show notes of each episode. We list links to the apps, code, and news that we mentioned on the show. If you like the podcast, tell your friends, leave a comment on the website, or write a review on iTunes. And please recommend us in your favorite podcatcher. All of these things help others find out about the show. We really appreciate your help with spreading the word. We'd love to hear from you, so use the hashtag AskMTJC and we may mention you on the show. Friends of the show can also join us on the podcast Slack channel. Please consider supporting the show by pledging any amount on patreon.com/mtjc. Every dollar pledged helps a lot. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
I'm really entertained looking at your background, right? Because so many things. Because it's like for the game, right? We had to learn all these things about the stage design and putting things and guiding the eye, right? It's like a composition 2.0, right? It's like it's really hard to make spaces, right? Compared to make a nice picture only, right?
Well, that's one thing we didn't talk about in the show, and the idea, like the thing is, making apps for spatial computing is completely different than anything else, because you're not just showing a flat bit of information, like website or an iPhone app or whatever, right? So you have to think in 3 dimensions,
Yeah, the amount of areas we have to learn, right? It's like, Roxana, you can chip in here, right? It's like we started thinking like maybe with a bit of idea, some concept to guide us and the development, it will be enough. Mm-hmm. But we have to learn from so many practices, right, Roxana?
Yeah. I mean, we just recently were talking about theater and transitions in theater and how can that be applied in our game. And we're actually trying to do that, right? To make it seem like you're changing the scene a little bit, but you cannot do any, sudden transitions in an environment like that. You need to be slow. You need to think of all this like motion sickness as well. So yeah, it's very, very different.
Yeah. So do you see your game as being played with people standing up or moving around the room, or is it they're stationary?
Yeah, just stationary.
Okay.
Yeah, it's also we saw from the early tests, right? It's like the presence of things is so strong that the people don't dare to cross through them, right? Or walk around. So when you have a 2 meters width table, right? It doesn't bother to do it, right? So they prefer like a indirect interaction, and that's fine, right? It's like you have to embrace some stuff, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I work in the kitchen and my wife, she doesn't do Vision Pro, but she'll walk right through my email and.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable how the brain plays you, right? It's like it's literally, I don't know, it's like we have this relation even with the equipment we have in the game, right? We have these hero assets, we call them, right? And we have like this particular relation, like I would love to have that 3D printed of that, right? I would love to really have it on my space. And then sometimes you are testing, right? And suddenly you look back and you have all these quick look models, place it in your room, right? And it's like suddenly it's like, okay, they are there, and you have like 2 seconds before you realize that
they're not really there.
They are not really there, right?
Yeah. So, that's one of the biggest disappointments when you take the device off. You're like, oh, where did all this stuff go, right?
Yeah. And that maybe is another feature, right, to ask for, right? It's placing an anchor, right? Like whatever anchor you want to stay in your table, in your desk, right? And keep it there, right? Keep a widget in that point, right? That
yeah. No, really it's interesting. I just thought of this actually. It's kind of like a real life holodeck, like from Star Trek. You see an environment and yet just turn it off and you see plain walls, right? Anyway, all right. Thanks for coming on the show and. Okay, cool. Thanks. Nice to meet you,
Thank
Roxana.
you so much.
I'll hopefully see you in the real life in the future at some point. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you, Tim. Ciao, ciao. Roxana, nice to see you.